Hello. Hello, people. Okay, my name is Loann. My name is Loann. Here's my name. This is so I don't forget who I am. My name is Loann.
We all have to do that.
I know, sometimes, you know. So, we are going to have a lot of fun. I have pulled some incredible product. I'm going to do 3 wreaths. We're going to do them start to finish. Really informal. If you've got questions, yell, call out. If you've got a question, chances are someone else has the same question. So I've had a blast. I was here last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and did all the trees, which is very fun because it's like kid in a candy store. It's like, ooh, I like this. I like that. Ooh, I want to make a wreath to go with that. So the first wreath I'm going to do is on a 24-inch white wreath. I've already pre-fluffed it. And I've pulled some stuff, and I was telling Trish in the front row, so what I think I'm going to do is not always what comes out. So I have an idea of what this is going to look like, and we'll see if this is what happens. So technique, I have a glue pan here. I am probably not going to use the glue pan much on this white wreath. So when we're doing things for our showroom, we have cold winters. I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So if we're doing anything that's going to be on the exterior of a building, sometimes we can use the pan glue. I'm never going to use glue gun glue because it'll pop and crack right off. So I'm going to start with this wreath, and the thought is I'm going to start and layer a base, and then we're going to add in some stuff. So I have these lovely, whatever they are, icicle-y things. I'll be covered in glitter from head to toe by the time I get done. I'm going to add these in first. Everything else is going to be layered over them. So I'm going to use my pathetic excuse for wire cutters. I need to, well, those are not bad. And I'm going to create a tail. So this is actually going to be a cascading wreath. I'm going to use the fronds itself just to anchor it in. So I'm just going to twist it in a couple of places. And this is going to be a cascading, wherever you want to put it, wreath. Wall, front door. So this is where we're starting, okay? Kind of offset cascade, that's the thought. And I'll hold it up from time to time as I go through. And then with this one, the thought is I might do a little cascade on the top, but we're going to see how that goes. I'm going to cut part of this out and maybe use a little short cascade here on the top just to create 2 points that are going to cascade. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to wire this in. We need like a cooking show cam from the top. You work on that next time? See? So I'm going to start with this, okay? So I've just got 2 points of cascade. I might add to that later. And I might even move that over a little bit. And then I'm going to add in some berries. Most of my focal, I think, I don't know, we're going to figure it out as we go. But I'm going to do a layered gold look. So I've got this gold tree back here, which has every shade of gold known to man on it. So don't be afraid to mix those brassy golds with warm, like vintage golds. Don't be afraid to mix them. I'm a firm believer in if you repeat anything enough, you can make anything go together. Anybody else? Yes? Repetition is the key. If I only had one thing in an old gold in here, might not work. But if I can pull together a couple things in an old gold, which is what I'm going to add right now, I'm going to add some, just again, right into the fronds. And as close to the backbone of this wreath as I can get it. So I'm just taking that, twisting it in a couple different places. And I'm going to add this in 2 different directions and kind of create 2 points of focal areas. Add in another one. I'm going to make this one on the bottom a little weightier. So I have 3 of these picks that I'm going to put back here, down on the bottom. Then I'm going to have 2 up there at the top. And it's really quick to do this way. Actually, first change, I'm going to move this over a little bit. I want it to have 2 distinct cascades, but I want them to be offset and not one right over the top of each other. So I'm going to add in this second berry pick. So one of my pet peeves of berry picks. Sometimes when you get them in and the paint, they're all painted together, and when you separate them, with the gold that's frosted, it's not really a problem. When it gets to be a problem is when it's red. So that's where we're going for so far. Okay, just creating a nice focal area here and here. Now, I've got these, which I think are absolutely amazing gold anthurium. And I'm going to combine it with some poinsettias, which is a little bit of an odd mix, but I'm going to make it work, because you can. So I'm going to add in this poinsettia, but I don't like these green leaves because they don't go with anything else, so I'm not going to use that part. Just going to strip that off. And we'll add in, I've got 3 poinsettias. So in the weight and balance, I'm going to add in 2 of them down at the bottom and 1 at the top. So a little weightier up here. But I'm going to leave a little space for my anthurium. So these are really easy to fluff. I just usually take my hands right in the center, push back, and then just start popping them out. Some of the magnolia that you see in the trees, really easy, because all you do is this and they're already fluffed. So these are pretty easy. And you can shape them any way you want. I know some people are going to shape them more cupped like this. I like to reflex them back a little bit. You want to shape them both ways. We're going to add one of these. Whenever you're using 2 of anything, you want to make sure you don't have eyeballs. Do you know what I mean by eyeballs? Gerber daisies are really big. If you're using Gerber daisies and you have 2 like right here, I either call them eyeballs or some other thing, but anyway, we want to make sure they have some varying positions. So I'm going to put one a little higher, one a little lower, and then I'm going to try not to cover up everything else that I've done in here. This might be a good place to just dip that in my pan glue. This is going to be covered up, and just stick that right inside there. Then I'm going to do that with one other. Just cut that off. Fluff that out. Very cool poinsettia. It's kind of like velvet with crystals and glitter and glitter and glitter and glitter. So this one's going to go right up here in this space. And I'm going to anchor this in with the fronds. So I'm kind of using both techniques in this. Okay. So you see how these aren't like 2 eyeballs? They're kind of in 2 separate positions. Ribbon. I'm going to do the ribbon not all the way through it, I don't think. And I have 2 different kinds of ribbon. I have one that's going to bring out that old gold and one that's going to bring out a little creamy and a little gold. And I'm going to create a little loop bow, but not really. You'll see in a lot of these trees, what I like to do is just make a loop, make a loop, make a short loop, and then maybe make a tail. So it's more inverted. If you see a real bow on any of these trees, let me know. Because I don't think I have a real, legit bow. Most of mine are, when I was in design school, they used to call these picked unit bows. We would actually put a pick on that. And you would have several together forming one bow. So I tend to design like that because a bow can sometimes make it look a little old-fashioned. Anybody agree? Yeah, like a straight up bow, it's very traditional, depending on how you use it. So I just took a little bit of my bind wire and tied that off.
Well, it's such a huge cost savings. You really don't need all those.
That's right. It is a huge cost savings. So every loop should show. And I'm going to do 2 of these. And this one Again, just loop, loop, and then a tail. I could add 2 tails, but since I have 2 of these in here, Loann needs some new scissors. Anybody else need new scissors? Always. Even though, so this started out to be my ribbon only, please don't touch. And then invariably someone will grab my scissors and cut, I don't know, wired edge ribbon with them. So they become my wired edge ribbon scissors. Does that happen? Okay. Same thing with the tails on my bow. I'm going to add a little bit up there, but not as much to trail. And then where this other color gold is going to really pick up, you see this is going to pick up this. So we talk about design and making a design that's actually unified and cohesive and it doesn't look like it's pieced together. Like I said, you can take any, I'm a firm believer, anything, repeat it enough, and you can make it go together. So I want to make sure if I've got this older gold color, this more 24 karat gold color, that I've got something to repeat that. So I'm repeating that in this ribbon, and I'm repeating that in this berry. And then with this poinsettia, we've got a creamy color poinsettia, and this is a creamy colored ribbon. So I've repeated that color as well. So that really makes your designs much more cohesive by having repetition. And usually when I'm looking at a design that I'm doing, if there's something that I do not like, it's usually because, oh, look, the new scissor gods have come and visited. And I'm not going to use these on this wired edge ribbon. I'll use it on, oh no, that's wired edge too. Where was I? Okay. Yeah, what I just said. So yeah, if I'm looking at a design that I've done and there's something that's wrong, principles and elements of design are huge for me. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, principles and elements of design are kind of the rules that we use to govern how we put things together. And you might have a really good instinctive eye, and you might intuitively know these things, but if you can rattle them off in the form of a checklist in your head, you can kind of diagnose what's wrong with something without saying, ooh, what's wrong with that? Let me add this. Ooh, that didn't do it. Let me add this. And then we end up overvaluing things, okay? So my 2 Achilles in design are contrast and repetition. I either don't have enough contrast, matte to shiny, rough to smooth, color contrast, dark to light, or it's a repetition issue. I might have one random cream thing in here, but it's not enough to make it look cohesive. So I'm going to add some of this as well. Same principle, just a couple loops and tails. Any questions while I'm working on this? No, none. I am so thorough. I've got all of it covered. Good job. So I'm going to add in some of this old gold just to give me a little contrast. And I want you to look at this before I add it in. Right in here is where I'm going to add it. I'm going to hold it up after I add it in. Subtle little things, but it's a contrast of texture, and it's also a contrast of color. And again, it's subtle, but do you see what I mean? So as I go through this, I'll try to do that throughout the day. I'll point out like, it's like, look at this now. So I'm going to add a little bit up at the top, and then I'm going to see how these and how those ornaments are going to fit in. So another little loop, loop, simple tail, wrong scissors. Bind wire is my right hand. You can use chenilles, you can use wire, but if you have bind wire at the ready, you have the exact length that you need all the time. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of this. Maybe get around there and get in there. So I've got that old gold color added in, kind of repeating what's in those berries. Okay. I could leave it just like that. And you've got customers that that's enough. And then you have customers and you know who they are. But this is not enough. So I'm going to add in, and I'm going to actually do this with glue. These anthurium. Have you ever used anthurium in a Christmas arrangement? No. Okay. Red anthurium. Well, you know, red anthurium that has been around for a while can become gold anthurium really for Christmas. Or silver, because the shape is the same. We've had some that would have like brown markings or whatever, but I'll tell you what, Design Master is wonderful. So I'm going to add in, and where I'm putting this anthurium, right in the middle of the poinsettia, that creamy poinsettia with this gold anthurium. Just kind of sets everything off. Stay, stay. And that's where that contrast comes in. Okay. And I'm going to add another anthurium up here. And I might add it in the opposite direction. So we're going to tuck it up a little higher. And I'm actually going to do that 2 in one place and 3 in another place on this one as well. And I'm going to face this in another direction as well. But still giving it nice contrast. That's the key when you're using a white base and you don't have greenery to give you that contrast. When you're using a green wreath, you automatically have contrast between whatever gold you might be putting on it. But with a white wreath, it becomes a little trickier. So with that white tree, that's where contrast and texture really comes into play. Now when I hold this up again, I want you to look at the line that's created with these anthurium. Okay. So you got a nice line that actually comes through here and kind of draws your eye down to this that's cascading down. Okay. So I'm going to add a little more tail of ribbon to this. I'm going to do 2 at once. We'll just layer over it. And I'm just going to take my bind wire. Notice the label is not off the bind wire. Take the label off, you unleash the snake. You don't want to do that. Very first time I did that, the Oasis rep at the time looked at me and said, "Rookie." Like, what? And then I realized, oh, so much easier. Just continuously pull out of the middle like a skein of yarn. Okay. Now I have some ornaments over here, and we're going to see if we want to add to it. Because what I don't necessarily want to see is all that stark white wreath. I'm going to play around with this before I actually affix them to it. So I've got matte to go against the glitter. Like, I'm seeing if I like it. And it's okay to change your mind. And I think what I'm actually going to do is start to build out from each of those 2 focal areas and not necessarily diddy-dot them through the whole thing. And if I can do this with glue, I'm going to glue right where that ornament hanger is, and I'm going to tuck them in. And they're just going to give me even that much more contrast and cover up a little bit more of that white wreath. And I like the shatterproof. I only broke 1 ornament in doing all these trees. Very proud of myself. Very proud of myself. So when I placed these around and I looked at it, what it did is it was very distracting because I have 2 very strong focal areas. And by adding these just diddy-dotted around like that, it really took away from those two strong areas. So reach. I'm going to add one more on this side. Now if you're using a glue pan, make sure, and you're using this for outdoor application, you want to make sure you use those yellow pillow. They're yellow because they have adhesive in it. If you're using like white pellet glue, sometimes that's just molten plastic, and that's going to really pop. So if you're going to do this for outdoor application, you definitely want to make sure you have that other adhesive. Yeah, maybe. We're going to try it. So I'm going to do this with this. This is a finial ornament. And I'm going to add this in to somewhere up here. Subtle accent with all the other stuff. But it's also going to repeat that shiny reflective that you get with all the glitter. And I'm going to add one in down here. I think I'm going to leave the big gold ornaments off of it, and we'll be done with this in about 2 seconds. Hopefully. Stay. Questions? Good. Okay. I mean, you could keep going on, and you could definitely design this in more of a traditional fashion where it's just all around. But kind of liking the non-traditional. And then we'll hang it up. One more down here. And actually I have 3 up here. I might have 5 down here. Again, just so this area down here has more weight. Okay, I think we're going to call it done. I'll know when I hang it up here if I'm actually done. Okay. Yeah? Okay.